Good evening, everyone in the gallery and those joining us online. I welcome everyone to the November 2025 Council meeting. My name is Councillor Tiwari, Mayor of the City of Maribyrnong. I declare at 6 and I'll hand back to please Lucas to respond.
Thank you, Mayor. Council's FOI officers undertake regular FOI training on a wide range of provisions within the FOI Act, which we are compliant with. Council and I, as the Director responsible, are confident in the freedom of information.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for those joining us online. We apologise for the streaming error that we've been having. Hopefully you can see and hear us now, and I'd just like to remind everyone online we're on the third question from Brenda O'Keefe, and the third question is, which department is responsible for improving resident safety on this street? Once 2025, I was cycling in an east direction on Essex between Brunswick and Palmerston Streets when I heard a car behind. I had moved to the centre line as I was about to turn right into Palmerston Street. I always indicate with my outstretched arm and hand. In the split second before I lifted my arm, the car driver rushed past me on my right. The car was so close that I would have lost my arm if I had extended it. I'm really sorry to hear that, Brenda, but we'll hand it over to Patrick, Director of Infrastructure Services, to respond to that.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Essex Street is a local road under Council's responsibility, and in particular the responsibility of the Infrastructure Services Directorate to maintain and manage, and the enforcement of road rules carried out by Victoria Police.
Mayor,
Yes,
can I
you have
just
something to
ask
add?
a little question about that one, just about question, I think it was the first question that Brenda asked, just in terms of the timing of when the officers will review this section of Essex Street from Ashley to Gordon. It doesn't say that, didn't say that in the response. Just wondering when.
Is this a question from yourself or?
Oh, just if whether officers could just advise, because in the response it didn't give a timing for when that might happen. That's all.
Maybe I'll get the CEO. Did you want to say something?
It's a reminder that we don't take councillor questions in the public question time, but you've said that now, so it would be up to the Mayor to accept it if you want a response. And could I suggest to councillors any further questions come to councillor question time?
If that's okay, or she
I can leave it to councillor question time, or I can just
that
ask it now.
that isn't actually asked in the question. That's been asked by the person submitting it, but I'm happy to go to the Director of Infrastructure if he wants to take it on notice, or if he has a response to that. I'm happy to allow that question from the councillor.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, we will need to take that on notice as to the specific timing and check with the team in terms of resource capabilities, but we'll certainly look into it and do it as soon as possible.
Thank you. So now moving on to public question time, question 3 by Robert Martinovich, who asks the following questions. Question 1, the 18 March Council meeting resolved to resume compliance with shopfront roller shutters with a focus on educating rather than enforcement. Since that decision, what is the number of roller shutters that have been removed from the Footscray Activity Centre, and how many roller shutters have been granted retrospective planning approval? It appears that this is a blatant failure by Council to improve street amenity. I'll hand it to Mike from the Director of Planning and Environment Services to answer that, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I understand that no roller shutters have been removed from the Footscray Activity Centre since the March Council resolution. And I can also confirm that no roller shutters have been granted retrospective planning approval. And whilst I acknowledge the frustration expressed by Mr Martinovic, I would not agree that this is a blatant failure to improve street amenity, rather a prioritisation of effort within finite resources. Many other initiatives have been developed and implemented throughout the Footscray CBD in the past 12 months, including the improved lighting, upgrading of Madden Square, improved street cleaning and graffiti removal, as well as regular event activations, all delivered to improve street amenity and to revitalise Footscray. Addressing roller shutters remains on Council's list of things to address, and we expect to be in a position early next year to better coordinate, concentrate our efforts in this initiative.
Thank you, Mike, for that. And I'll just get a time check. Do we need to extend now? All right. So, councillors, with your permission, I'd like to propose an extension to public question time. I propose a 15-minute extension. All good? Everyone's good? Thank you. We'll continue on with the questions. Question 2. In February this year, I contacted Council about train commuters parking in Footscray streets that don't have timed parking restrictions. I expect this to become more problematic once the new hospital opens nearby. In May, a council officer responded with information that the VHBA had commissioned a parking study and that council would be looking to update the parking permits and restrictions in the area closer to the hospital opening. Can council provide an update on this? It's currently a problem and will only get worse. I'll hand it back to you, Mike, Director of Infrastructure Services, please, to respond.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. So Council is aware of the ongoing and potential future parking issues within the vicinity of the new Footscray Hospital. And I can confirm Council is currently considering a range of options to better manage parking within the hospital precinct, and as this progresses, we'll be happy to provide further information in due course. In addition, Council has also arranged for car parking occupancy surveys to be undertaken on streets within the hospital precinct prior to and after to the hospital's opening to help better understand parking impacts on neighbouring streets.
Thank you, Patrick. And moving on to question 4, Joe Canny asks the following questions. Question 1, here is what other councils say about the municipal charge and what is the municipal charge is part of the rates levied by council and is intended to distribute some of the administrative costs of running council in a fairer way. Why is MCC municipal charge $20 per annum? And I'll go to Director of Customer and Corporate Services. Please, Lucas, to respond.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, Maribyrnong City Council applies a modest municipal charge of $20 per annum to support social equity in our rating system. Council's municipal charge is one of the lowest in Victoria. Any variations to the current municipal charge would not change the overall amount of total revenue that Council raises. The charge levy simply affects how the rates revenue is distributed between variable rates charges on property values, based on property values, and a flat municipal charge to all ratepayers. By keeping the charge low, Council ensures that any fixed costs do not disproportionately impact those with lower valued properties. Implementing a higher rate of the municipal charge would effectively subsidise high valued properties at the cost of lower valued properties. This approach helps to maintain fairness and affordability, particularly for residents who may be more financially vulnerable.
Thank you, Lucas. And question 2, another council states helps fund governance-related services and helps spread the cost of providing council services across all property owners. Given information provided by council demonstrated residential rates vary from $199.96 per annum to $25,472.20 per annum, why is MCC not committed to utilising the municipal charge as intended to even costs? I'll go back to you, Lucas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So certainly Council does understand the concern of the resident. Whilst the municipal charge is designed to help distribute administrative costs more evenly, Council's rating strategy prioritises social equity by relying primarily on property valuations rather than a flat fee to collect the overall rates revenue. Increasing the municipal charge would disproportionately shift more of the cost burden onto lower valued properties, which would undermine equity.
Thank you, Lucas. And question 3, another quote about the intent of the municipal charge from AI this time. Municipal charge, a flat rate fee applied to each rateable property in Victoria to help cover a council's administrative costs, such as finance, HR and IT. Council is letting down ratepayers by not distributing costs as fairly as possible. Will MCC consider increasing and utilising the municipal charge to do what its intent is? I'll hand it back to you, please, Lucas, to answer that.
Thank you, Mayor. And as already stated, the municipal charge is intended to help cover the governance and administration costs, but it does not increase or reduce the total revenue that Council collects. It only affects how the rates revenue is shared between rates and the municipal charge. Our current position reflects a commitment to social equity. Any future changes to the municipal charge would need to be carefully considered, including community consultation and impact analysis, to ensure fairness and affordability remain central to our rating strategy. And for these reasons, Council is not currently considering changing the amount of the municipal charge.
Thank you, Lucas. We'll move on to question 5, asked by Rosie Goethel, who asks the following questions. Question 1, November 19th is World Toilet Day. I did not know that, but now I do. I've learned something today. Thank you, Rosie. Recognising how essential public hygiene and sanitation is for everybody's participation in public life. With various initiatives in place to revitalise Footscray and Council's stated intention to support those experiencing homelessness, a really practical and powerful initiative would be to install more public toilets in Footscray, as well as accessible, safe, free showers and laundry facilities. These would be especially helpful for the many men, women and children who experience homelessness or are not safe in their homes. Is this something Council can please consider? And I'll go to the Director of Planning and Environment Services to answer that, please, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Council is continuously investing in expanding our network of public toilets across the municipality. The Maribyrnong Public Toilet Plan 2019 outlines priority locations for Council and guides its future investment. While new toilets in Footscray are not currently on the list of priorities, Council will consider your request as part of the ongoing review of the Maribyrnong Toilet Plan. A new plan is expected to be submitted to Council for consideration in early 2026.
Thank you for that, Mike. And moving on to the next question by Brian Sanderson, who asks the following questions. Question 1, referring to item 11.2, the motion appears to favour new business at the expense of existing businesses and ratepayers. What financial support will Council give to existing businesses and residential ratepayers in the Footscray CBD? So I might respond to that. That's okay. It was a motion that I've put into this evening's agenda. So my notice of motion will be considered later in the meeting tonight. If it is supported, it is asking that a report be prepared and tabled at the December 2025 Council meeting. That report will consider existing supports being provided by Council to local business in and around Footscray CBD and explore options and further incentives to drive new and existing business investment via a 9-month pilot. So question 2. The motion pays a little attention to the financial sustainability of Council, which collects rates and fees to offset the costs of running Council. Has the Mayor undertaken any modelling to determine what impact this motion would have on Council's finances? So again, if the notice of motion is carried, the report to the December Council meeting will outline any financial implications for Council. And the third question is, the motion ignores supports for the thousands of residents who call Footscray CBD home. What measures, if any, is the Mayor proposing to support existing residents who have to walk through streets with rough sleepers in every second alcove? I'll respond again. The motion relates to assistance for new and existing businesses via a 9-month pilot. At the same time, Council is supporting the Salvation Army to establish a state government-funded health hub in central Footscray that will support rough sleepers and others experiencing drug, alcohol and mental health issues. Council continues to support its local laws officers to carry out their role safely, with a 6-month pilot providing security guards to enable them to safely undertake their duties. Move on to public question 7, asked by Terry Somalis, who asks the following questions. Question 1, Mayor Pradeep, regarding your motion that Council offer incentives to boost businesses in Footscray, what resources are being allocated to meet the social and welfare needs of our community? Growth without equity risks deepening disadvantage. We call on Council to ensure that no one is left behind. Thank you, Terry. I'll respond to that. And as I've said in the responses to Mr. Sanderson, Council is supporting the Salvation Army to establish a state government-funded health hub in central Footscray that will support rough sleepers and others experiencing drug, alcohol and mental health issues. Further to that, Council has planned a number of activations in the area and the completion of the new Madden Square development. Second question by Terry. I asked the Mayor to ensure that Council's economic development strategy must be matched by a commitment to social equity. While business incentives can stimulate growth, they must not overshadow the urgent need for investment in housing, health, education and community services. Footscray's future depends on a balanced approach that supports both enterprise and well-being. I'll answer that. Council's economic development strategy encompasses opportunities and initiatives for the business community as well as the community well-being initiatives. And her third question is, in line with supporting Neighbourhood Houses' campaign to state government to increase funding all neighbourhood houses, is Council prepared to match its funding incentives to businesses for neighbourhood houses in its own municipality? And I'll hand it over to Director of Community Life, please, to answer that question.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Through
Maria.
you. Council strongly supports the neighbourhood house sector and is actively advocating alongside our 5 local neighbourhood houses for increased and sustainable state government funding. We recognise the essential role neighbourhood houses play in strengthening local communities, providing inclusive programs and supporting people who need it most. We acknowledge that the core funding for neighbourhood houses in Victoria is the responsibility of the Victorian State Government. However, Council is very proud of the long-standing partnership we have with our local neighbourhood houses. This includes the provision of ongoing support through operational funding, access to and maintenance of facilities, and partnership initiatives to help ensure these services remain accessible to our community. Any proposal for additional resourcing would need to be assessed through Council's annual budget process, whereby the community and our partners are invited to submit funding requests for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And I think, Sia, did you have anything to add to that? If that's
mention through you, Mayor, that Council did provide 5 of the houses a $10,000 increase this year, which is quite substantial for Council.
Thank you. Moving on to question 8 by Grace Gibson-Kane, who asks the following questions. Question 1, Lost Dogs Home holds the council pound contract for Maribyrnong Animal Management. Lost Dogs Home has been in the media recently and is being investigated by other councils for euthanizing several puppies within its facility. That's horrible. What is the council doing to investigate and ensure ethical practices of animal management and ensuring our animals are safe and treated humanely? I'll go to the Director of Planning and Environment Services. Please, Mike, to respond.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Responsibility for ensuring compliance with the Code of Practice for the management of dogs and cats in shelters and pounds lies with the City of Melbourne, as the Lost Dogs Home operates as a domestic animal business within their municipality. Any concerns regarding compliance should be directed to the City of Melbourne. I can confirm to the best of our knowledge that the Lost Dogs Home is currently compliant with that Code of Practice.
Thank you, Mike. And why is the Lost Dogs Home being given the pound contract as outlined in the draft Domestic Animal Management Plan, whilst Animal Welfare Victoria data showed Lost Dogs Home increased euthanasia from 2023 to 2024, whilst several controversies about their ethical practices? Why wasn't other organisations considered for the council contract? And I'll go back to you, Mike, please, to answer that.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Council has previously assessed and considered alternative providers via our standard procurement processes and will continue to review other organisations as part of its ongoing procurement and contract management processes. Thank
you, Mike. And I might need to extend public question time with consent of all councillors, if that's okay. Propose a further 15-minute extension. Thank you. We'll continue on. And we're up to question 9. Question 3 still. In the draft Domestic Animal Management Plan, Object 6, Activity 6.1, with the objective to increase council's capacity to improve welfare, the activity is to partner with other animal management services and to continue to develop relationships and partnerships with vets and rescue groups. Who are these organisations? I'll go back to you, please, Mike, to answer that.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Council is committed to supporting the highest standards of animal welfare as part of the new Domestic Animal Management Plan to ensure we remain a pet-friendly community. We actively engage with local veterinary clinics within the municipality and are working towards building partnerships with reputable rescue groups. To name them all in this response would be unreasonable. However, we would welcome the opportunity to catch up in person to outline who they are and indeed seek feedback on others that could possibly be included. These relationships are being developed to strengthen collaboration and to improve outcomes for both pets and the community.
Thank you, Mike. Moving on to question 9, asked by Ken Betts, who asked the following questions. Question 1, I recently saw a post that Councillor Meredith was using an alias name on social media by the name of Sam Jane. Is that Councillor Meredith? I might ask Councillor Meredith if you're okay to respond to that.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to answer that. It's very common for people in public roles to have both a personal social media account and a public-facing one. I do have a personal account and I do have a councillor account as well, as do many others. I'm also a teacher, so protecting my identity is really important. My personal account is private because of my work and my need for clear boundaries. And my councillor account is on both Facebook and Instagram, and it's open to the public and for anybody to view as well. So I do have the personal and the councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. Second question is, it was also noted that she was the administrator of the Joseph Road Group while the group got funds for their event. Is this correct? Would you like to reply, Councillor Meredith?
Yeah, the Joseph Road Precinct Group has a president, a secretary and a treasurer who look after the administration side of the group. Further, the group became an incorporated association and the office bearers are President Hervey, Secretary Nada, Treasurer Sue, All governance and administration and decision-making sits with the office bearers who applied for the grant. I am not the administrator and there is no conflict of interest. I do not operate in that space at all.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. And the third question is that not a councillor conflict if a councillor obtains funds for a group while being an administrator of the group? Would you like to respond? Yeah, I know you've kind of answered that in the
Yeah,
previous one, but if you...
I've got one ready to go,
Yeah, sure,
so I'm happy
sure.
to go with that. I don't hold any administrative or office bearer roles. I'm not involved in preparing or submitting grant applications. The group applied for it. They manage their own things independently, and they are an incorporated group, and they do that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. Moving on to public question time, turn number 10. Edward Merrifield has submitted 3 questions for this evening's council meeting. These questions have been disallowed under clause 52.8 of council's governance rules. They will not be read out or responded to. Moving on to question 11. Council received 2 submissions of the same question from Madeleine Surley and Jen Chivolo requesting a response about the MAC membership program. Under clause 52.9 of council's governance rules, these questions have been grouped and will only be read out once. Question 1. The free MAC membership program began in mid-2023 as a great example of community-led recovery after the Maribyrnong floods and runs until end 2025. MCRA congratulates Council on its supports of the program. It's been the most successful way for flooded residents to build psychosocial and physical well-being in their recovery journeys. But recovery doesn't stop in December 2025. Recovery is ongoing, shown by community distress and the controversy commemoration of the 3rd anniversary plus the Melbourne water study reinforcing flood risk. Would Council please consider extending the MAC program at 50% cost to support ongoing recovery? I'll hand it over to Director of Planning and Environment Services, Mike, please, to answer.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. We acknowledge that recovery is ongoing and we will make an announcement in the coming weeks regarding Council's continued support of the community recovery process and the Recovery MAC program. For context, recent data suggests that 375 memberships have been issued under this initiative this year. 70% of these memberships, which is 265, have not been used since May this year. We've recently commenced a marketing program reaching out to these members to establish their level of interest in ongoing memberships, and this will inform what the program will look like into the new year.
Thank you, Mike. Moving on to question 12. David Olubub, I apologise if I've not pronounced that right, but they've submitted 3 questions. These questions have been grouped with a single response provided. Question 1. I write to you as a concerned citizen and as a Yoruba man from Nigeria, a Christian deeply saddened by the suffering of my Christian brothers and sisters in my homeland. You must be aware we suffer a genocide. Christians are being slaughtered, children kidnapped from schools, and the Western world is silent. I have seen this council raise a flag for Palestine in support of their people during conflict with Israel. I humbly ask, question 1, will you extend the same courtesy and raise the flag in solidarity with the Christian people of Nigeria who are facing violence and abduction? Question 2, Boko Haram made international headlines in 2014 when they kidnapped 300 children. Many are still missing today. Just this week, 25 schoolgirls were kidnapped from a government boarding school in the state of Kebbi. Question 2, if the council cannot raise a flag, will you stand with me in prayer tonight for peace, protection and the safe return of the missing children? I was so happy to see the Mayor proudly advertising the Festival of Africa in Footscray. Question 3, can we together find ways to bring awareness and support to the plight of Christians in Nigeria affected by terrorism even in our local community? I pray that your council will consider the suffering of innocent people in Nigeria as worthy of recognition, compassion and action. Let us show that humanity transcends borders, faiths and nationalities. And I'll get the Director of Community Life, please, Maria, to respond to that.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Thank you, David, for your question, and I acknowledge and appreciate your concern for the safety and well-being of Christian communities in Nigeria. We recognise the significant impact these events have on affected communities, including those with connections here in Maribyrnong. In responding to international conflicts or harm, Council aims to act consistently and within its role, ensuring that any public statements or symbolic actions follow appropriate decision-making processes. Council's practice is to fly flags only when this is supported by an endorsed policy, long-standing civic protocols or a council resolution, and at this time there is no adopted policy or direction that would authorise flying the flag in relation to this situation. Further, council meetings follow a set agenda and structure that is defined under governance rules. We currently do not incorporate prayers or religious observances into public meetings. For this reason, a prayer is not planned for tonight's meeting. That said, we are always mindful of the real human impact of international events, and we acknowledge how distressing this situation is for those with family, cultural or faith connections, and remain attentive to developments that may affect our community. We again acknowledge the concerns raised and extend our thoughts to all those affected. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And I resonate the Director's message. Our thoughts are with you. We move on to question 13. Marie Party, on behalf of Friends of Footscray Park, asks the following questions. Question 1. We have serious concern about the event scheduled for Footscray Park, 24 January 2026. We support vibrant community use of the park, but this event raises significant issues. 4 stages, including 1 in the Thompson Water Garden area, the use of pyrotechnics, cannons and fireworks. Attendance may reach 30,000 people. We are deeply concerned about potential environmental impacts, including effects on both park amenity and non-human life, local wildlife and bird populations. Could Council please make public the approval process for this event and the assessment of environmental and community impacts undertaken prior to granting approval? I'll hand it over to Mike from Director of Planning and Environment, please, to answer.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Just to clarify, the Thompson Water Gardens are not part of the event site for the Dangerous Goods Festival. While the feature remains closed to the public for safety reasons, it will not be used for staging or patron access as part of this event. And we'll continue to work closely with the event organisers to ensure the festival is delivered safely and responsibly and in a manner that protects the park's heritage values, landscape, flora, fauna and broader ecosystem. The event must also comply with several regulatory requirements, including a place of public entertainment permit, which sets strict standards around safety, operations and infrastructure, EPA guidelines, including noise management standards and environmental protections, a substantial park bond, which the organisers are required to lodge to safeguard the park against any potential damage, and consultation with Council's Park Ranger, who will provide oversight and direction on the protecting sensitive areas, wildlife and heritage features before, during and after the event. The intent is to balance community use of the park with opportunities that bring diverse cultural experiences to our municipality while ensuring Footscray Park remains cared for and protected.
Thank you, Mike. Question 2. How much is Council charging for leasing Footscray Park on January 24, 2026, and what arrangements have been made for the community who will be unable to use the park during the preparatory constructions, the duration of the event, and the post-event deconstruction and cleanup? Back to you, please, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar to previous events, the fees charged are commercial in confidence. Much like the previous Laneway Festival, significant portions of the park will remain accessible during event building, during show day and during the bump out. More than half of the western lawn will remain accessible throughout the entire event period.
Thanks, Mike. And question 3, please clarify what Council means when it says activate Footscray Park and the western lawn. Urban activation usually refers to urban revitalisation initiatives to energise derelict or unutilised spaces. Friends of Footscray Park is concerned that Council considers Footscray Park a fallow space and that Council still does not understand, nor is it committed to the value and the necessity of open space in Footscray for the use and enjoyment of the community. Please clarify for us whether the current informal use of Footscray Park by a diverse and large number of communities is not considered active enough for council's wants. And I'll go back to you, Mike, please, to answer that.
Thank you, Mayor. Activation of Footscray Park will be in alignment with the updated Footscray Park Master Plan. Typically, this includes a mix of formal and informal recreation and cultural events and festivals to ensure the park is accessible and enjoyed by all in the community.
Thank you, Mike, and that concludes public question time. Thank you for everyone who sent their questions through. We'll now move on to confirmation of minutes. Agenda item 6.1, confirmation of minutes, 21 October 2025. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yengi.
To present the minutes of the council meeting held on 21st October 2025 for confirmation. That council confirms the minutes of the council meeting held on 21st of October 2025.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. Are we e-voting? Yep, there we go. That's e-votes. The motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 6.2, confirmation of minutes, 28 October 2025. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Lamb.
Official recommendation, the council confirmed the minute of the special council meeting held on the 28th October 2025.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to agenda item 6.3, confirmation of City Development Delegated Committee minutes from 28th of October 2005. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Semra.
The council confirms the minutes of the City Development Delegated Committee meeting held on 28th of October 2025.
Thank you. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Pereira. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Moving on to reports from committees. Councillors, there are no reports from committees to be tabled at the meeting tonight. Moving on to petitions. Councillors, we have received one petition this evening. I advise councillors that in accordance with the council's governance rules, a councillor may read the petition text, but is not permitted to speak to the permission. So, agenda item 8.1, petition improve safety at Hampstead Road, Emu Road and Crefden Street intersection. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yengi. You read the
Yeah.
So a petition has been submitted to council containing 259 signatures. The petition presented to council included the following texts. The petition draws the attention of the council to prioritise and improve safety at Hampstead Road, Emu Road and Crefden Street intersection, such as through traffic control measures, traffic signals, pedestrian crossing and speed humps are implemented at this intersection. The text also reads, every day, my wife and I cross the intersection of Hampstead Road, Emu Road and Crefden Street in Maidstone, Vic. It's a daily necessity for us, much like it is for many others in the community. We have witnessed numerous near-fatal incidents at this intersection, and it is a constant source of anxiety. This is not just our story, it's the story of every local resident who navigates this dangerous crossroads. The intersection is essential to our community. Nestled nearby are a childcare centre, an aged care facility, a gym, dental and medical clinics, a kids' swim school, bustling local businesses and a key bus stop that links us to Footscray Station. These amenities bring together residents of all ages, from the very young to the elderly, making pedestrian safety of utmost importance. Currently, there is a lack of safe crossing options, putting the health and safety of hundreds of pedestrians at risk. The absence of traffic control measures leaves both pedestrians and drivers vulnerable. According to statistics, intersections without proper traffic control are 3 times more likely to witness accidents than those with adequate measures. This has been proven right by the number of incidents we have witnessed in this junction over the years. To protect our community, it is imperative that traffic control measures, such as traffic signals, pedestrian crossings and speed humps, are implemented at this intersection. These improvements would drastically reduce the risk of accidents and provide peace of mind to residents who use these routes daily.
Thank you. You need to move to the
Recommendations. Sure.
Please.
That Council receives and notes the petition, improve safety at Hampstead Road, Emu Road and Crefden Street intersection, and request the Chief Executive Officer to consider the petition and determine the appropriate response.
Thank you. And I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semra. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. 9.0 planning reports. Councillors are advised that there are no planning reports to be tabled at the meeting tonight. We'll move on to officer reports. Agenda item, no, is this, do we have a councillor conflict with 10.1 or no, that's 10. Okay. Agenda item 10.1, quarterly performance and financial report for the period ending 30 September 2025. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Semra.
The council notes the quarterly performance and financial report for the period ending 31st of September 2025, as shown at attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. Are there any questions or points of clarifications? No. Would the mover like to speak to the motion? Formally. No. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Formally seconded.
Any other councillors would like to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. Motion is carried. Yeah, we'll now move on to agenda item 10.2, proposed lease, 19 Hocking Street, Footscray Bulldogs Children's Centre. Councillor Mohamed Semra, if you could please leave the chamber for some time. We'll call you back very shortly.
Can't close the door to the public.
So moving on with agenda item 10.2, I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
Thanks. That Council 1, note the community engagement summary report shown at attachment 1. 2, pursuant to section 115 of the Local Government Act 2020, the Act, A, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or their delegate to commence the required statutory procedures to consider entering into the lease. B, authorise the commencement of the community engagement process in accordance with Council's community engagement policy pursuant to section 11 of the Act, involving a public notice of the proposed lease uploaded on Council's website, sent to surrounding properties and persons reasonably affected by the proposal, with the proposed lease terms as set out below. 1, the tenant, Footscray Football Club. 2, premises, Bulldogs Community Children's Centre located at 19 Hocking Street, Footscray, excluding the 2 MCH rooms. 3, the term 10 years. 4, permitted use to sublet the premises to an approved not-for-profit enterprise that provides and will use the premises for the provision of childcare and community-related services approved by Council. 5, rental $2,000 per annum plus GST. 6, rental increases 3% increase per annum. 7, maintenance. Council maintains essential safety measures, ESM, only, and the tenant is responsible for all other maintenance. 8, capital works, the tenant to provide a minimum of $500,000 of capital works during the first 3 years of the term. 9, first right of refusal, not included in favour of the tenant, or such other alternate terms as determined to be reasonably necessary by Council's Chief Executive Officer to conclude negotiations with the tenant on the proposed lease. C, that the public notice is for a minimum period of 28 days and provides the option for submitters to be heard by a committee consisting of the whole of Council if required. 3, note that once all submissions forming part of the community engagement process have been considered, a further report will be presented to Council to decide whether or not to enter into the proposed lease.
Thank you. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Lamb. Are there any questions or points of clarification? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just say a couple of things. I'm really glad that we've kind of come full circle and we've got to this point of, responding to the overwhelming feedback that the community gave us about maintaining the not-for-profit sublease arrangement through this clause, and also removing the first right of refusal so that at the end of the 10 years, Council does not have to go directly to the Bulldogs to renew the lease with them, that Council can resume responsibility for the leasing arrangement, which I think is a much better arrangement and a much better outcome for our community. I note that during the consultation, the option was given to community to look at 5 or 10-year terms, and they sort of erred towards 10 years, and that's what's been included. But sort of going alongside council policy for a 10-year term is the requirement for that capital works contribution of a minimum of $500,000. So, yes, really looking forward to the next and final round of community consultation on this one, and just also thank all those people who have been with us from the start and have kind of gone through a couple of consultations with us. We are looking forward to hearing from you on this final piece of this puzzle, and before it comes back to council again to get the stamp. So thanks.
Thank you for those few words. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion? Just your mic.
Just briefly, thanks, Mayor. Firstly, I would like to thank you that Mr. Luca Gosling and his team to work so hard on this consultation, and some of the councillors also visit and talk to staff, parents, and we are here, we listened, and I'm really say that we come out with sort of agree that, what should be done and for the future. So I'm really happy to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lamb. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. If we could call Councillor Semra to the chamber, please. Welcome back, Councillor Semra. We're moving on to agenda item 10.3, the Domestic Animal Management Plan update. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Semra. Do you need?
I would like to put up an alternate.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is-
new motion, okay.
It's your motions there.
Okay.
Do you, maybe pass some of the,
I believe this is the motion that will...
Okay. Okay. That Council 1, note the results of the community engagement on the draft Domestic Animal Management Plan 2026-2029, shown at attachment 3. 2, resolve to introduce a planned approach to a dusk to dawn cat curfew, as detailed in objective 3 and 4 of the Domestic Animal Management Plan 2026-2029, shown at attachment 1, which includes an evaluation process in July-December 2027.
I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Thomas, would the mover like to speak to the motion?
So we've heard from community, and I think this is the best way to go forward. We've heard from community that they would like to see support of a dusk to dawn, and depending on how that goes over the next few years, we can then go to evaluation to consider a 24-hour 7 curfew.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just say a couple of things. I think there's a lot in this domestic animal management plan. It doesn't just cover cats, it covers dogs and ferrets and chickens and roosters and a whole lot of other domestic animals. And I think council officers, in consultation with the community and doing kind of research in terms of contemporary domestic animal management, have come to a good space in helping the community, those who have domestic animals and those who don't, you know, looking towards encouraging responsible pet ownership through a whole lot of education programs, but also support for, you know, desexing cats for, you know, people on low incomes and other things throughout the plan. So yeah, I think it's a nice expression of the contemporary nature of keeping and being a responsible pet owner in a increasingly kind of squeezed urban environment, and noting that, you know, of course we've had an increase in, I think, dog and cat ownership since sort of COVID as well. So I think it's really important that we strike that balance, and I think we have with this document. So.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Yengi.
Yeah, just to briefly, I guess, reiterate what my fellow colleague has just mentioned. Obviously, tonight we're considering the Domestic Animal Management Plan, and this document not only reflects our statutory responsibilities, but I suppose our shared commitment to a safe, healthy and harmonious community for both people and animals. As both of the other councillors mentioned, this plan has been heavily shaped by community feedback. I just wanted to personally acknowledge the many residents, animal welfare groups and pet owners who took the time to share their views, and certainly acknowledging that their input has strengthened this document. I think most of us would have seen that there was a key issue that drew the most attention, which was the proposed 24/7 cat curfew, and we heard strong support for you know, improved wildlife protection, reduced nuisance complaints and a better cat welfare. But we also heard concerns from residents about the practicality, the enforcement costs and how families and older cats might, you know, adapt to a 24/7 curfew. So it's just been really good to see that our community deeply cares about their pets, about the environment and about fairness. And I think the proposed alternate motion, you know, which shows a staged approach, is the balanced path forward, because we think that a staged approach will allow us to educate residents on why the cat containment benefits both cats and wildlife, also supports owners with practical resources to transition their pets. It will allow us to, you know, work with vets and welfare groups to assist those who might need additional support. But ultimately, the most important thing is that this staged approach will support us to monitor the impacts and evaluate the approach that's been proposed here, whilst we're also building compliance gradually. So I just really want to thank everyone who contributed to the draft plan, and I encourage continued engagement and constructive dialogue.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Pereira.
No, I was going to, but I think everything has been said. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. And I have just been asked by the CEO, she wants to say something on this, so please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, councillors, this motion to allow us to go forward with the domestic animal management plan, you do need to endorse the plan. So, Mayor, could I please request that councillors consider a third recommendation to endorse the plan, if that suits the mover and the seconder?
Is that okay? Move it. Yep, so
Yes.
good. So does the mover need to read that third? Yeah, might get you to read the third. Yeah, just read the third recommendation.
Yeah, just to clarify, 3, we will endorse the domestic animal management plan, shown at attachment 1.
Thank you. Are there any questions or points of clarification? No? Okay. No, that's fine. That's good. It's all good. It was amazing, but everyone got it the first time. So I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10.4, Community Grants Program 2025-2026 Recommendations Report. And note, Councillor Lamb, you will be required to leave the chamber for the conflict of interest. We'll call you back shortly. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yangi.
That Council endorse the Small Grants Recommendations Report, Community Grants Program 2025 and funding recommendations shown at attachment 4, and 2, the Recommendations Report 2025 Community Grants Program and funding recommendations shown at attachment 5.
Thank you. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Thomas. Are there any questions or points of clarification? No. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
I'll just say a couple of things. Just wanting to thank all the community groups that applied for the grants. We had, as has been the case over the last few years, we had a lot of people submit grant applications through, unfortunately more than the capacity we have to support, but really excited about the applicants who were successful with this grant round, and for those that were unsuccessful, hopefully you'll be hearing from our officer soon with some feedback on your applications. But also just wanting to encourage, if you weren't successful this round, to please consider applying for the next round, but also, you know, keep in touch with council, as there may be other opportunities to apply for funding through council.
Thank you. I call for a councillor to second the motion.
I'll just talk to it. Yep. I think it's really great to see a few new organisations coming up with new ways to engage or support the community. So, yeah, council doesn't just give out money each year to the same groups under this program. And this year we did introduce, I think, the environment or sustainability section, and I note that there's the Footscray Repair Cafe, which is really good to see. I'll be interested to see how that one goes. But of course, a lot of support, in the health and wellbeing space for, vulnerable members of our community, but also support for seniors groups and getting young people active and engaged, as well as through our neighbourhood houses and through, what's it called? Sorry, I've lost the word. But look, a whole range, historical. That's what I was going to say. Through our historical groups, history groups as well. So it's really good to see that mix. And we do have a section in the community grants targeting or encouraging First Nations groups to apply, and we don't have any to we didn't have any to assess this year, so I'm really looking forward to what our officers come up with for next year in terms of really encouraging First Nations groups to develop projects and put in applications as well. So congratulations to everybody, and I'm pretty sure all the councillors will be looking forward to coming and being involved in your project if time allows. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Semra?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. So to those who were successful, congratulations. These projects represent the best of what we can enable, and that's grassroots ideas that bring people together, support well-being, celebrate culture, and impact a diverse range of communities within Melbourne. And I'm excited to see the impact that the work will have over the coming year as they begin to roll out. To those who weren't successful at this time, I'd like to reiterate what Councillor Yengi has said. I encourage you to keep going and continue to apply in future rounds. And, there will be availability and opportunities, to provide guidance, and there's information sessions to help with getting all the information that is required. The strength of this program is measured not just by the grants we award, but by the ambition of the community behind them. So congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Semra. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Meredith, just jump.
I won't say as many words as everybody else, but I just wanted to say thank you to all the community members that have put in their applications, and we do look forward to attending your events. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Councillor Pereira?
Yeah, I think most of it's been said. Community grants are a really great way for community to help us deliver on the broader aspirations and objectives that we have and that are held and that we hold on behalf of community. I think it is incumbent upon us to increase the grant funding that we make available because we do get so many great submissions, and I'm very excited about the Repair Cafe and excited to see MTAG be supported around air quality and congratulate them and Save Willy Road on their recent success. And I also will want to encourage us to be a bit less risk averse in empowering new ideas and innovative proposals, because the work that can be done by community for community is really important and sort of can be very effective in a way that we can't be in delivering programs for community. Community can do it for themselves, and I think that's an exciting opportunity for us to help support.
Thank you, all councillors. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Thank you. And if someone could please get Councillor Lamb to return to the chamber. Welcome back, Councillor Lamb. We'll now move on to agenda item 10.5, the Live Music Action Plan. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
That Council note the community engagement process undertaken and community engagement summary report shown at attachment 2 for the draft Live Music Action Plan 2026 to 2028. 2, adopt the Live Music Action Plan 2026 to 2028 shown at attachment 1. And 3, note that a report will be presented to Council in early 2026 to endorse a draft terms of reference and commence an expression of interest process for the Live Music Working Group comprising a range of industry representatives to guide the implementation of the Live Music Action Plan.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Pereira. Are there any questions or points of clarifications? Nope. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yep, thanks. Just say a couple of things. Maribyrnong's, of course, well known as the creative heart of the West, and this, of course, includes live music. We also know that we lag behind in live music offerings when compared to other similar inner city areas. And the Live Music Action Plan seeks to change this through exploring funding supports, online promotions, professional development opportunities, a conference, and working with VU to support the development of local talent. So I think this is a really exciting sort of evolution or point in the evolution of council support for live music across Maribyrnong, and I think it's really timely as we sort of come out of COVID and people are really out there looking for things that they want to go to in their local community. So congratulations to everybody who provided input into this first live music action plan, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who puts their hand up for the working group as well next year. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I think equity and participation are a key focus of the live music action plan, and aim to that live music scene reflects the cultural diversity and promotes belonging and well-being. I think it's great to see a diversity of activities and gigs for all ages and major events, including artists from cold and diverse backgrounds. We just had the Strings in Spring event, thanks to Friends of Crookshank Park, and performed by the relatively new Inner West Symphony Orchestra, and then just recently Simpatico in Footscray on Saturday. I am really excited to see an increase in busking and glad to see the quick response grants so that artists can do what they do best and bring joy to as many people as possible in an easy and accessible way. And I'm really excited about this plan, and thanks for the team and everybody who's participated in it.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Meredith?
Yep. I love music and I love art, and this is a fantastic and really exciting plan, and I'd like to thank all of the officers for all of the work that has gone into developing this plan, and looking forward to more live music gigs and everything else across the city.
Thank you, Councillor Meredith. Any other councillors? No. We'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. And the motion is carried. Move on to agenda item 10.6, Councillor Confidentiality Policy. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
That council adopt the councillor confidentiality policy shown at attachment 1.
Thank you. And I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. Are there any questions or points of clarifications? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Formally seconded.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll now move on to agenda item 10.7, Special Rates and Charge Policy. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
That council endorse the draft special rate and charge policy shown at attachment 1 for the purpose of community engagement and feedback.
I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Pereira. Are there any questions or points of clarifications? No. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Just say a few things on this one. So this is a new policy. Council doesn't have an existing policy that allows, that guides the charging of a special rate or charge, but it is allowed under the Local Government Act. Councils can raise a special charge or a special rate or charge to pay for particular council services. So this is a new policy. This is not approving the policy. It's just endorsing it for community feedback. So this will be an interesting one for the sort of the governance people and the people who are interested in rates and how council collects and apportions the rates money that we do get for the budget. So I really encourage people to have a look at this so that we can, because it's a new policy, it will be really great to hear from as many people in the community about this one, because we haven't been out to the community on this before. Thanks.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Sure, I agree. I think it's important that we have this policy so that we have a framework for funding activities that will support specific areas of our community. I think it's helpful for us to have a policy so that we can look at specific situations and help generate funds to deliver specific outcomes locally that support our community's broader objectives. The policy seeks to ensure transparency and mandates that the scheme be equitable in distributing cost and benefits. So, yeah, please have a look at it and send us all your feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Meredith? Is your light on? No, just, okay. That's okay. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I might just add that, as Councillor Thomas mentioned, it's just a policy we're proposing. Usually these special rates and charges usually are collected and they support trader groups, business associations and economic development. That's how the funds are usually used. And just this policy just ensures that those rates are used in fairness, consistency and clarity on how the special rates are set out and managed. So at this moment, it's just out for community feedback, so I would value everyone's feedback on this. So I'd now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. We'll move on to agenda item 10.8, Maribyrnong's neighbourhood houses and community centres. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Lamb.
Office of recommendation that Council number 1 note the outcome delivered by the community centre and neighbourhood house. Number 2, provide a letter of support to the neighbourhood house Victoria advocacy campaign requesting the state government for a 25% increase in the neighbourhood house coronation program funding. And number 3, note that a further report will be provided in 2026 with the proposing new neighbourhood house partnership framework.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semra. Are there any questions or points of clarification? No. Will the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yes, just briefly. Firstly, I would like to congratulate all the neighbourhood house who are working tirelessly to support the community, particularly the people who come from diverse cultural and linguistic background. There's a number of programs that they provide and is suitable and help them is a lot. And I personally have seen them and also visited them a number of times during my year. And I wish you all the best for the old neighbourhood house.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. I want to take a moment also to acknowledge the tremendous work of our neighbourhood houses and community centres across Maribyrnong. The centres are the quiet backbone of our community, providing safe, welcoming spaces where people can connect, learn and access support. Our neighbourhood houses specifically, deliver everything from digital literacy, English classes, food relief, engagement, and programs for seniors, new migrants, and culturally diverse families. Despite the impact, our neighbourhood houses have been operating with stretched resources for many years. That is why I'm proud that this council has increased funding across all our neighbourhood houses in Maribyrnong. It's important to note that funding previously primarily rested with the state. This investment reflects both the growing demand and the irreplaceable role in strengthening community well-being and resilience. So to the staff and volunteers who keep these spaces running, thank you. Your work reduces social isolation, supports vulnerable residents, and builds the kind of connected community we all want to live in. So It is in recognition of that value and our ongoing commitment to ensuring neighbourhood houses remain strong, supported and accessible to everyone in Melbourne.
Thank you, Councillor Semrau. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Meredith?
Yep. Thank you to the neighbourhood houses. I think that you do some fantastic work and you're well loved in the community. And I'd love to see the state government increase the funding by 25%. I think that would be fantastic and well deserved. That's it.
Thank you. Any other councillors? No? Right. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, Councillor Yangi.
Sorry, I was just going to say something really brief, echoing a little bit of what my other colleagues have already said, but just acknowledging the critical work that our neighbourhood houses do and do on very limited budgets. So wanting to thank them for everything. And I think, it's imperative, as Mohammed mentioned, it's imperative for us as council to do everything we can to support our neighbourhood houses because they are the backbone of our community. And I know in particular for a lot of multicultural groups, that spend a lot of time and who connect through their programs, their spaces provide really valuable connections for residents and we couldn't do what we do without them, so let's do whatever we can to support them.
Thank you, Councillor Yangi. Any other councillors? No. I'll now put the motion to the vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Moving on to agenda item 10.9, Parliamentary Inquiry into the Early Childhood Education and Care Sector in Victoria submission. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yangi.
That council endorsed the submission to the Parliamentary Inquiry into the Early Childhood Education and Care Sector in Victoria, shown at Attachment 1.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Thomas. Are there any questions or points of clarification? Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
I'll just briefly start off by saying thanks to the Premier and the State Government for taking swift action following the public report that came out a couple of months ago around the incidences at the childcare centres across the state. I want to offer my strong support for the Parliamentary Inquiry into Early Childhood Education and Care in Victoria, and I would also like to thank our officers for putting together this detailed submission to the inquiry. I think our message is very clear, and I'm hoping that any reforms that emerge from this inquiry will must absolutely strengthen the safeguards that keep our children safe.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Formally seconded.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Move on to agenda item 10.10, Community Advisory Committee, Terms of Reference. I'll call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Thomas.
That Council 1 acknowledge the significant contribution of the Disability Advisory Committee, LGBTQIA+ Community Advisory Group and Active and Healthy Ageing Community Advisory Group, and 2, notes the updated Terms of Reference template shown at Attachment 1 to be adopted by the Disability Advisory Committee, LGBTQIA+ Community Advisory Group and Active and Healthy Ageing Community Advisory Group.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Semrau. Are there any questions or points of clarifications? Councillors, no. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Just only to say that the review that was undertaken by council officers with some external consultancy support has brought us to this point. It was particularly focused on those 3 groups, but it has relevance to, I think we've got about 15 community advisory groups or something across the organisation with the community. So I think the points in here that will help strengthen these 3 groups will also help to inform how all the other 9 or 10 advisory groups or advisory committees will operate, improving the transparency of the groups, making sure that people who are members of those groups understand what their role is, what their responsibilities, how to provide advice, how best to sort of provide advice or, influence decisions that are made. So, and strengthening sort of the governance as well around, when people should leave the group, or if you haven't been able to come to meetings and things like that. So I think this will really strengthen not just these 3 groups, but across the board, all of Council's community advisory committees. Thanks.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate a couple of Councillor Thomas's points. I think community advisory committees are a tangible way of engaging directly with community members and provide the opportunity for Council to actively listen to the experiences, ideas and insights from community to provide feedback and input into Council planning. And, establishing consistent terms of reference can improve transparency, accountability and clarity of role and purpose. And this is a central part of our, this decision-making as councillors to ensure that our decisions are guided by community and allowing for these platforms to tap into that rich experiences of our community.
Thank you, Councillor Simra. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. We'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Moving on to agenda item 10.11, 2026 council meeting schedule. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Yengi.
That Council adopt the 2026 Council meeting schedule as shown in Table 1.
Thank you. I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. Are there any questions or points of clarification? No. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Formally seconded.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. Motion is carried. We'll move on to agenda item 10.12, Governance Reports, October 2025. I call for a councillor to move a motion. Councillor Lamb. Just read up on the screen.
Read it from the screen.
Okay. That council, not the October 2025 governance report.
Thank you. I'll call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Meredith. Are there any questions or points of clarification? The mover like to speak to the motion?
Formally moved.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Formally seconded.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. Your mic off. Who hasn't voted? Yeah. The motion is carried. Thank you. Move on to agenda item 11.1, Notice of Motion 2025-10, Solidarity and Response to the Humanitarian Crisis in Sudan. I call for Councillor Mohammed Semra to move the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. That Council acknowledges the escalating violence and humanitarian crisis in Al-Fasher, North Darfur, which has resulted in mass killings, famine, and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of civilians. 2, condemns the reported atrocities committed against civilians, including ethnically motivated killings, sexual violence, and the deliberate starvation of the population, as grave violations of international law that may amount to crimes against humanity or genocide. 3, expresses solidarity with the Sudanese Australian community in Malbonong, recognizing the deep trauma experienced by families with loved ones trapped, missing, or displaced in Darfur. 4, resolves that Council write to the Honourable Anthony Albanese MP, Prime Minister of Australia, the Honourable Senator Penny Wong, Minister for Foreign Affairs, and the Honourable Dr. Annie Ali MP, Minister Multicultural Affairs, urging that the Australian Government, A, continue to advocate for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and humanitarian corridor to Al-Fasher and wider Darfur, B, supports the Australian Government's call for a transition towards civilian-led democratic governance, C, support independent international investigations by the United Nations and the International Criminal Court into war crimes, crimes against humanity, and possible acts of genocide, D, recognize and condemn the ethnically motivated nature of the violence in Darfur, E, expand Australia's humanitarian aid and family reunification visas for those with relatives trapped or displaced, and F, use Australia's diplomatic influence to hold arms flow, pressure regional actors, and work towards lasting peace and accountability.
Thank you. Are there any points of clarifications by any councillors? No. Would the mover like to speak to the motion? Do we need a second? Okay, sorry, before he goes on, I call for a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Yengi? Yep, now would the mover like to speak to the motion?
So since April 2023, Sudan has been engulfed in a devastating humanitarian crisis, one of the worst in the world currently. Recently, the city of Al-Fasher, capital of North Darfur in Sudan, has become the epicenter of violence. Once a refugee for displaced civilians, it has been under siege for months, cut off from food, water, and medical supplies. Recent verified reports from the United Nations, Amnesty International, and independent media indicate widespread atrocities by the RSF, including ethnically motivated killings, sexual violence, the burning of villages, and deliberate starvation tactics. Satellite imagery has confirmed mass graves and the destructions of hospitals. Humanitarian agencies warn that tens of thousands of civilians remain trapped in Al-Fasher, with famine conditions worsening daily. The UN and humanitarian observers have described the situation as a nightmare of unimaginable suffering, warning that violence may amount to crimes against humanity or genocide. The ICC has also announced that it is actively gathering evidence of possible war crimes committed in Darfur, and this motion is a call for the Australian government to use its diplomatic tools to aid in that. Locally, the city of Maribyrnong is home to a strong and vibrant Sudanese Australian community, many with direct family ties to Darfur. The ongoing conflict has caused immense distress and grief, with residents expressing deep concern for the safety of loved ones abroad. This motion reflects Council's commitment to standing in solidarity with affected communities and upholding human rights, and I hope my fellow councillors support it today. Thanks.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Sure. Tonight, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the deeply distressing and heartbreaking situation that has been unfolding in Sudan over the last couple of weeks and continues to escalate. The conflict has brought unimaginable loss, displacement, and trauma to millions. For many in our municipality, this crisis is not distant or abstract, it is personal. It is felt in phone calls that go unanswered, in families torn apart, and in the constant worry for loved ones whose safety is never guaranteed. To our Sudanese community members in Maribyrnong, we see you, we stand with you, and we hold space for your grief, your strength, and your resilience. Your pain is our community's pain, and we acknowledge the heavy burden many of you carry while still contributing so much to the life, spirit, and future of our city. Local government may not have the power to shape international events, but we do have the power to shape how we show up for one another. We can foster understanding, amplify your voices, advocate for humanitarian support, and ensure that our services remain inclusive, compassionate, and responsive to the needs of community members affected by this conflict. You are not alone. Your stories matter, your well-being matters, and we commit ourselves to working alongside you. in solidarity, in support and in hope for peace.
Thank you, Councillor Youngie. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I'll now put the motion to a vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. The motion is carried. Oh, it's the next agenda item 11.2, and as the proposer of the notice of motion, which is notice of motion 2025/11 business attraction incentives for Footscray CBD, I'll now vacate the chair in accordance with clause 24.10 of Council's governance rules to allow me to move this motion. I invite the Deputy Mayor to assume the chair.
A call for Councillor Pradeep Tiwari to move a motion.
That a report be prepared and tabled at the December 2025 Council meeting, 1, outlining existing support being provided by Council to our local businesses in and around the Footscray CBD, 2, exploring options and further incentives to drive new and existing businesses investment via a 9-month pilot program for the Footscray CBD, including but not limited to A, waiving all council fees and charges that apply to new businesses for the first 12 months of operation. B, a 30-day fast-track streamlined business concierge service aiming to get businesses up and running as soon as possible. And 3, providing recommendations and financial implications for additional council support.
Thank you. Are there any... A call for a councillor to second the motion, sorry. Councillor Semra. You need to second it, sorry. Yep, okay. Would the mover like... Are there any questions or points of clarification, councillors? Nope. Would the mover like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Tonight I'm putting forward a motion that reflects something that I've stood firmly for throughout my mayoral term, revitalising the Footscray CBD, supporting our traders and removing barriers that make it harder for new businesses to open and thrive in our city. Over the past year, I've spoken with hundreds of traders, property owners, workers and residents. The feedback has been consistent. Footscray is full of potential, but it needs targeted, practical support from Council. That is why this evening I'm calling for a 12-month program that waives all council fees and charges for new businesses opening in the Footscray CBD, supported by a streamlined 30-day business concierge pathway, a clear guided process that helps traders open their doors faster with less red tape and more hands-on support. We know the challenges: empty shop fronts, rising costs, slower foot traffic. These pressures are real, but so is the opportunity. With the right settings, we can transform vacant spaces into vibrant hubs for jobs, culture, creativity, food and innovation. And importantly, this initiative sits alongside the work we already do to support our existing traders. We have business grants, trader group grants, networking events, precinct activations and a strong economic development team that works closely with local businesses every single day. We also now have a dedicated officer for Footscray CBD who has been doing an exceptional job engaging with traders in Footscray, listening to their concerns and helping them navigate challenges on the ground. This motion complements those efforts. It also strengthens our broader revitalisation work, including the new mental health and wellbeing hub, safety initiatives, public space improvements, and the incentives we are developing to make Footscray cleaner, safer and more welcoming for everyone. This motion is about sending a very clear message that Footscray is open for business. It is about backing the entrepreneurs, the dreamers, the risk takers and the future employers of our community. It is about restoring confidence and attracting the kind of investment that Footscray deserves. And I sincerely hope that my fellow councillors support this motion, not just for me, but for Footscray and for our traders and for our local economy. and for every business owner who believes in the potential of our CBD. So let's get Footscray moving again. Let's give new businesses every chance to succeed, and let's continue backing our existing traders. And let's show that Maribyrnong is serious about growth, vibrancy, safety, and opportunity, because I think Footscray deserves nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yep. Thank you, Chair. I seconded this motion because Footscray is not just an activity centre in Maribyrnong. It is the place where cultures meet, where small family-run shops sit. Besides long-standing institutions, and we have the new Footscray Hospital coming, Victoria University, and where generations of traders have built livelihoods. And it is a key identity of our municipality. But we also have to be honest about the reality. Footscray businesses are doing it tough, whether it's rising operating costs, safety concerns, or the day-to-day pressures of running a business in a fast-changing environment. Traders have been clear, as the Mayor has, as Councillor Tuari, the Mayor has said, and we need stronger, more practical support from Council. This motion is about stepping up to that responsibility by first outlining the support we already provide. We create a clear baseline, so no assumptions, not anecdotes, but a transparent picture for how our council is currently backing businesses from Nixon Street, Paisley Street, and beyond. And I think that clarity is important, but importantly, it asks to explore new targeted ways to generally make a difference on the ground. So waiving council fees for new businesses is one way to do that. And it sends a direct message, as the Mayor has mentioned, and that is Maribyrnong Footscray is open for business. And we want you here. This is about lowering the barriers for people who want to invest, innovate, and contribute to our local economy. And, a 30-day fast-track business concierge service, I believe, is exactly the kind of practical support our traders have called for. They tell us that, it's not just the costs, but the delays. If Footscray is to thrive, we must make it easier, quicker, and more straightforward for businesses to get up and running. Footscray deserves this level of attention. Our traders have been patient through years of planning, and change, and a lot of the, I think, the perceptions, the negative perceptions across Footscray. So this motion says, we hear you, we value you, and we are prepared to make it easier and give practical steps to support more opportunities in Footscray and thus make Maribyrnong better.
Thank you, Councillor. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Oh, okay, so I will now put the motion to the vote. Councillors, please cast your votes. And the motion is carried. And I'll now ask the Mayor to resume the chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. We'll now move on to Councillor question time. Councillor question time is managed in accordance with Council's governance rules. Councillor question time is limited to 15 minutes unless councillors consent to an extension. So are there any councillor questions? Councillor Semra, maybe your microphone.
So my question is to you, Mayor. Being a first-time councillor and first-time mayor, how has that experience been? and I know you've done. It's been a hurdle, but you've done, I believe, a great job. And how has that experience been for you?
Well, thank you for that question. So, as many of you know, this is my first term as councillor, first term as mayor, and I could not have navigated the year without the steady guidance, patience and professionalism of our directors and every officer in this organisation. And to our CEO, Celia, especially you, thank you. As many of you know, I came to the role, as mentioned, first term councillor, first term mayor, with simple intention to work within council in a way that truly reflects what our community is asking us. I think I've listened, I've taken on the feedback, sometimes passionate, sometimes blunt, but always honest. And I've tried my best to turn community engagement into community action. I've worked to make our processes more open, more transparent, and more welcoming to residents who want to be a part of shaping our city, because local democracy works only when people feel heard, respected, and included. And I'm incredibly proud of what we've all achieved together with my group of councillors, not just around this table, but across the organisation and out in the community. And I also want to express my deepest gratitude to the many communities who welcomed me into their events this year, our multicultural communities, especially the Indian community, who have been really incredible, our faith groups, our neighbourhood organisations, our LGBTIQ communities, our sports communities, and all the diverse voices that make Maribyrnong such a vibrant city. Your invitations, your warmth and your trust have meant a great deal to me. It's been an extraordinary year for council and an extraordinary year for me personally. And just wanted to thank you, everyone around this table, all the councillors, for supporting me, encouraging me. And whatever happens tomorrow, I remain grateful for the privilege of serving as the mayor this year, and I will continue to work hard as a councillor for the city of Maribyrnong. Thank you, Councillor Simra, for that question. Yes, is there another councillor question? Councillor Lam?
This is not a question, but I would like to sincerely thank you so much for your guidance and your leadership for the whole year, and your tirelessly working with, all facts of life that, all the small event, big event, and everywhere you're very visible and very supporting from the multicultural community, from, different age group and also business like tonight that, you put in motion on. And I really thank you, sincerely thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you, Councillor Lam. I really appreciate it. Councillor Meredith, you have some.
Yep. I think I'm going to go a double thank you. So I would like to say a thank you to Councillor Deputy Mayor Thomas as well for all of your work this year, and also to Mayor Tawari. So thank you to you both.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Thank you. We'll move on to urgent business. Councillors, are there any items of urgent business? No. So we'll move on to confidential business. And I advise you, councillors, that there are no confidential businesses to be tabled at the meeting. And accordingly, I declare this meeting closed at 8:24 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone online. Thank you.